If you're getting started with wholesaling in Texas, this video is for you. Check this out. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're jumping into my BatchLeads account where I'll show you how to pull list of opportunities in Texas and how to find cash buyers. We'll be using a tool called Property Search to pull these lists, and whatever your strategy and your focus is, you can pull that data in BatchLeads. We'll also show where you're able to see that saved information and how you have all included contact information on these property owners and cash buyers once you save them into your database. If you end up having questions, drop a comment down below and be sure to also reach out to our team. You can go to the B in the bottom left-hand corner to reach out to our support and also visit our help center. So we're going to jump into this tool, Property Search. You can look up a specific location here at the top, which is what we're going to use today, but you can also use the boundary tool. This pencil icon in the bottom left allows you to draw something on the map. But let's go to the city of Austin, Texas for today's example. Just type it out and then grab it from the drop down. The very first thing you should always do is choose your strategy. Let's choose off market today, so properties that are not listed on the MLS with an agent. And some tools will pop up that are only available when you have this selected, and it's just nice to set the foundation for the rest of your filters. One of the things you'll notice is this batch rank tool. This is an AI feature that helps you find property owners that have a higher likelihood of being motivated to sell their properties. And just based on your plan, you can move this slider to find property owners that are more and more likely to sell based on multiple distress indicators looking at the details. So if you wanted to, you could use this by itself, view the properties just based on the level you can go up to in your plan. Like the bottom plan, you can only go up to the medium tier. So go to where you can. And if you wanted, you could grab that list, select them, and save them. You could also use them with your additional filters. So maybe you want to find these likely to sell property owners, but maybe you also want to just make sure that they are single family or have certain features. You could do that too. Something else that you'll notice are these quick filters. So if there's ever a list that you just want to pull and not worry so much about putting a ton of different filters and criteria on top of it, just grab the category off to the left and you can again select them and save them. And feel free, if you want to have batch rank on top of it, you absolutely can, or you can take it off at any time too if it's cutting your list down too much when you have multiple criteria selected. So let's take this off for now and go into our all filters. This is where you can go into things like the quick filter section to stack list. So maybe you want to find vacant properties that have failed to sell. So those are properties that maybe are expired or they canceled or they were just withdrawn off the market and they're sitting empty. So already you're creating a very custom list so you can reach out to these property owners that have a deeper situation probably going on. We're going to take that off, just go over a couple different examples. Maybe it's a vacant property and it's in pre-foreclosure. And you're stacking these criteria on top of one another so that ultimately you'll have a better quality list. Now we do have batch rank turned on. Typically you're not going to be building this very custom list when you're using it. It just depends on what you're looking to do because it's already going to be cross-referencing a ton of different factors. So as you're kind of building your list, if you notice that it's cutting it down really quickly, you can always go up to the top and take something off if you want to. For today's example, let's go ahead and say that we're looking for vacant properties that have defaulted on their taxes. So it's an empty property and facing financial distress. So take your time as you go through each of these sections: ownership and vacancy status, listing status, pre-foreclosure and auction, equity and loan, and other. Find things like for sale by owner leads, senior owners, and more. And you can always hover over the name to get a brief description of what that is. So in this example list, we're essentially trying to find property owners that have potential motivation. So you can pull that list into your account and start reaching out to them, especially because you have the included contact info. So we won't go through all of these areas. We'll just apply a few more things like in the property characteristics. Let's just say that we want these to be residential single family homes. And maybe they just need to be a little bit older as well. Like we don't want anything that's built past the year 2000, for example, unless that's of course what you're looking for. But let's just say that we're looking for properties that are older, are probably more likely to need some TLC. Here you can see they are vacant, they're empty, and they've defaulted on their taxes. It's a regular residential single family home. So all the filters you're using, you'll see across the top. If you change your mind about something, just click on the X to take it off. You have things like the MLS status if you're looking for on-market opportunities. You can definitely do that. There's tons of valuable filters. You can learn more in our help center how to use these and additional videos we have here on BatchTV. Pre-foreclosure auction and tax info allows you to just get a little bit more specific. So maybe you don't want to use the quick lists that are available, but you want to tell the system it needs to maybe have a upcoming auction date, or they're just maybe at a different part of the process and different types of lists that you're trying to pull in your account. Ownership info is always really beneficial to have on your list, so you're not pulling in properties that may be recently sold. Let's just say that on our list, we want to make sure that these properties have been owned for maybe a minimum of 7 years. So far, we've looked up single family homes that were built some time ago. They've been owned for a long time, they're empty, and they've defaulted on their taxes. So you can kind of see how we're painting this picture of potential motivation. Remember, if you're just going to use something like Batch Rank, you won't typically go through and build out this very custom list, just to show you how this works. There's a valuation and equity section if you want to get deeper with that. Find people that have high equity and specify that percentage there. Filter things like the loan interest rate. There's a cash buyer section. We're going to be talking about that here after we pull this example list, so that you can be building relationships with buyers that are knowledgeable in the market, that they may be looking for their next project and want to share that with you, or maybe you already have a property under contract and you're looking for a buyer. So we'll talk about that here. And then demographics. So you can specify things like the age of the owner, the household size, and more. So after you finish pulling your list, and we put a ton of filters on here just to show you how it kind of works, you're going to see your properties in the bottom right-hand corner, and you're going to select them and save them into your account. So let's go ahead, select those, click save. And I could look at the details by clicking on the addresses, but I want to show you after we save them so you can see the phone numbers and email addresses. So save the properties and or agents if that's applicable, but this is an off-market list. We're going to focus on just the properties, and then save them into a clear, organized list and tag. What I typically do is I name the list after the main point, and to me, this is a vacant and tax default list. These are both really big points to me. So I do have something in my account already called vacant tax default. If you don't, and you're kind of just getting your account started, start typing, and it will give you an option to create it as a new list. But my biggest tip is to make your list very straightforward and then relate your tag to your list. And the way I do that is I name my tag, at least in the beginning, the same exact way that I name my list. So they're kind of related now. Now, the thing that I add on top of this is the market and the date. And typically I do that by the month and the year. It makes things really organized, and I should have no issue finding this information in my account later. I know this doesn't seem like a big deal, especially if you're new to adding data into a software, but the more information you add and the more you start talking to people and managing information, you want to have an organized system so that you have no difficulty finding your important information. So we're going to click save and show you before we go into a cash buyers list, just show you where that information is saved. You're going to go into my list, and as long as they're saved in a nice organized list and tag, you should have no issue. Just go to the list and tag section at the top of your screen. I'm going to go to my tag side. I just care a lot more about my tag typically. Super easy. I have no question about what's in this tag. I can click on it and immediately see the phone numbers and email addresses off to the right. And you can click on the address to open up those details, see the phone numbers broken down deeper here, and even hover over the information icon to see if they're on the national do not call list, the phone type, the phone provider, and if it's marked as reachable and tested by that provider in the past few months. We have a built-in comping tool, and if you're concerned about Texas being a non-disclosure state, we aggregate from multiple data sources and cross-reference data like mortgage info, for example, to get you an estimate that's as accurate as possible on the sale prices. But as that is on this map, you can kind of start looking at your subject property and start looking at the active, sold, pending properties around there with built-in filters. And then when you find suitable comps, the system has a built-in calculator to help you determine the estimated value. And the really cool part that people miss here is that you can actually select your comps, click actions, and you can either export a PDF, a really nice report that's laid out, or even email a PDF report to somebody else on your team and see where you got your numbers from, the location of your comps, and all of their details. You also have sale and loan information, tax info, MLS data if applicable to what you're doing in your business. You'll be able to see the description on that property, on that listing, and even see the agent's information where you can give them a call and add them into your account into the agent outreach tab, which is invaluable, where you have them saved in your list and tags, foreclosure information if applicable, owner profile, which will show you additional properties that person owns and activities on what you've done with them so far. Don't miss out on other data points. Things like this right here falls under high batch rank. So high, medium, or low will show on your saved properties as well, and additional distress indicators here. Don't forget to use things like your lead statuses to organize things further, and in the property details tab, you do have an area to leave notes. There's a lot you can do in my list, and you can select the properties here and even take action like starting direct mail campaigns, exporting, pushing into Podio, and so much more. But let's finish off with going into property search once more to talk about how to find great buyers in your market. Eventually, you're going to need cash buyers if you're wholesaling. You should be reaching out to them simultaneously while you're looking for properties and opportunities, reaching out to buyers to see what they're looking for, letting them know if you have something that you run into as you're continuously reaching out to these property owners. But as you're in this area, I'm just going to start over and erase my filters or reset them. Let's go again to Austin, Texas. Just type it out. I'm not going to choose my strategy here because we're looking for buyers. What I would do, and there is a quick filter in here, but the thing I want to call out is that with the cash buyers filter, it can be really a large list, 48,000 plus, but I want to specify something a lot deeper. So if you go to the all filters button, go down to cash buyers, and let's say that we're looking for people that are fix and flipping. And if you want to find other types of buyers, just adjust some of these filters and make them your own. But what I want to do is, let's say that we're looking for properties that, yes, were purchased with cash. We want to look up the purchase date and say that maybe in the past year, they've purchased those properties with cash, maybe even a shorter amount of time. And then they own at least, let's say, 5 properties. So I'm not just going to be looking at buyers that maybe they were investing at one point, but the last property they bought was like 7 years ago. I'm not going to be finding people that bought a house for cash and they don't invest in any other properties. I'm looking for people that have a little bit of a portfolio and they recently purchased properties with cash. Now, I do always put on this filter to just make sure they are essentially an absentee owner. They don't live there at the property. So exclude properties where the mailing address and property address are the same, as all that is. And then what we can do is, this alone is already going to be a higher quality cash buyers list of people that bought in the past year. But if you want to find people that maybe flipped those homes, you could go up to the MLS status section and then maybe say they need to now be active or pending. So this tells me that these properties were purchased with cash in the past year, and they're now back on the MLS. So that lets me know they're probably ready for their next project. They bought it, they probably worked on it, and now they're listing it and selling it. So let's go ahead and see what we get here and give you an idea. So let's take a look, and we'll open up one of these for example. Let's take a look at this one. You can see that this property has been owned for 10 months, and I'm gonna go to the MLS tab, and you can see that this is right here, newly renovated. This is another reason it's great to find those properties that are listed. It gives you that information, and you can go to the owner profile, see that this person, this LLC, they own 7 other properties, and I can go into the details and look that this property was built in 1956, and it looks absolutely beautiful, completely remodeled and redone. So this person, you could then save this property into your account. You would get included contact information and be able to reach out to the owner of that LLC in this property currently that's active on the MLS. And if you for some reason can't get a hold of the buyer, a lot of people like to go and reach out to the agent, build that relationship, and see if they would connect you with that buyer they're representing as well. So after you're done looking at the details, you're ready to save the list. Same idea, I would select these, save these, and I would save it into a nice organized list and tag. And then you can start reaching out to these buyers, building those relationships, and looking for those opportunities. We hardly scratched the surface on what you can do in BatchLeads. This was really just to give you an idea on how you can get started and get the ball rolling with pulling data points, getting included contact information, and easily being able to manage that data. If you have questions, let us know down in the comments. Reach out to our team. Be sure to find a link in the description to join our free community. And remember to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. And we hope to see you guys back here on some of our next videos on BatchTV.